Carry on.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. As we promised, we are back with a follow-up session to dive deeper into the role evolution and metrics that matter in an AI-driven world. So, as most of you might be knowing, we already have a session 2 weeks back, and what we covered there was mainly on the areas of how we foresee AI redefining agile in next 3 to 5 years, human AI collaboration patterns, backlog management in the AI era, and lastly, cultural shifts for AI ready agility. So today, as a moderator and a co-speaker, I'm truly excited to dig deeper into product value, role shifts, SMs and coaches, AI-aware estimation, metric integrity, and continuous learning. So looking forward to engaging with our speaker, that is Shubho, who is a seasoned technology leader and an agile transformation strategist and AI consultant with extensive experience driving digital transformation and enterprise-wide innovation. Known for bridging business vision with practical data-driven execution, he brings deep insights into AI adoption, workforce readiness, and organizational agility. His thought leadership and hands-on experience makes him a compelling voice on how business can stay future-ready in an era of rapid AI disruption. So, welcome, Shubho, to your own show. Yeah. So, just a brief intro about myself. So, I'm Shubhra Haldar. I'm an agile transformation lead at Lexmark. And today I will be playing both the role of a moderator and a co-speaker. And with our main speaker is Shubho. So, without wasting any time, let's move to our discussion. So, AI is transforming the way we build and deliver products. With AI generating massive insights and enabling automation, product owners now face both unprecedented opportunities and new layers of complexity. The challenge is no longer about building features, it is about rethinking product strategy, decision making, and how we define customer value in an AI driven world. The question isn't about what AI can do, it is about how it changes the way we think about products. Does it make decision making easier or harder? Does it help us get closer to what customers truly value? Or does it introduce new challenges in understanding their need? So, with this context, Shubho, the first question to you will be, how does AI enhance or complicate product thinking and the pursuit of customer value? You are on mute, Shubho.
Yeah, thank you. Am I audible now?
Yes.
Okay. So first of all, thank you so much, Shubhra, for giving this introduction. Now, there are two parts of the question as I see. So one, how in this rapidly disrupting space, how AI can enhance the product management or product thinking, or how AI can complicate the situation. But before I directly go into the answer, I would like to take a step back. What is product management? Now, product management is to produce the offering, could be a service, could be a solution, could be a product, which is completely based on the customer centricity. So we are not here pushing the product to the customer, the intent, original intent, we are not pushing it to the customer. Rather, we are trying to explore the pain point of the customers and trying to provide a compelling value proposition in a desirable, viable, and feasible manner. Now, when we talk about customer centricity, what does it mean? So I would like to quote one of the Steve Jobs pointer that what is customer centricity. So from his point of view, customer centricity is you are so close to your customer, or you should have adequate knowledge about the customer that even before they understand they have a problem, we come up with a solution for them. That is customer centricity. Now, customer centricity is a mindset, and it is kind of getting implemented with the concept of design thinking. I'm sure like many of us may be knowing about it. So we'll touch upon some of the area. We cannot cover all of them, but we'll touch upon some of the areas of the design thinking and how AI can help us in getting there. Now, you must have known about customer journey mapping, prototyping, story mapping, right? And then persona, empathy mapping. How with AI, we are not going to discard these things, rather we can get more benefit or in a optimized benefit using this or to implement this kind of design thinking techniques. So let's start with the customer centricity. Now, AI can analyze massive data set, behavioral patterns, sentiment, using usage trends to uncover what customer truly value. Remember, I told you that desirable part. So desirable means what? Whether there is adequate demand in the market. Now, earlier people used to do a lot of market survey, right? They used to create a lot of user segmentation, etc. But now AI is kind of helping us by capturing the market data and trying to come up with a lot of a recommendation. Now, if I may try to give you some real-time examples, let's say a streaming platform using AI to predict that the users who binge watch documentaries are likely to upgrade to premium if offered exclusive content. So he might not be interested in the movies or the shows, but if we can offer them with more documentary discovery kind of stuff, he may wish to move to the upgrade. He may wish to move to an upgraded offering, which can, of course, give them some additional revenue. Now, you might have seen that a lot of banking apps are there who are predicting the customer financial need, both based on your expense and on your need. And sometimes they are offering some loans and also coming up with some credit card upgrade. Now, let me give an example. They must be seeing that, okay, you are using or you are purchasing a lot of flights very often, and they are coming up with a more credit card upgrade option, which can give you a lot of lounge access, which your normal credit card may not be offering. So this is how they're analyzing your buying pattern, your need pattern, your expense pattern, and then accordingly they are offering you a lot of benefits or a lot of new offering or recommendations. Now, let's say you are canceling Uber or Ola in a just short time interval, multiple time, and you are giving us some specific reason. So they may give you a call back. They will analyze immediately. They'll give you a call back and saying that what is the reason, and they'll try to give apology and try to take some corrective action. I have personally experienced these kind of things. Now, coming back to personalization at scale. Now, AI enables hyper-personalized experience, making product more relevant to individual users. Now, I would like to first give you one of my very, very favorite example I would like to give when we talk about empathy mapping. What is empathy mapping? You may be coming up with a product, but the product features might change depending on the need of the customer. Same product, but depending on the need of the customers, your product can change based on certain questions. So this is what is called empathy mapping. First, you define the persona. You ask them what are your pain points, and accordingly, you can do the customization in your product. Now, the best example I can give you, the automobile variant. If you go for a, let's say, Maruti car, SX4 or whatever, or maybe a Hyundai car, or maybe a Kia car, why do you think there are so many variants in the car in the same model? Because we are trying to understand the need of the customer of different affordability or different choices, because we are trying to create some user segmentation, and according to the need, we are trying to come up with a lot of customizations. And sometimes we are also keeping a lot of flexibility that even if some of the features you would like to include between two variants, you can also customize that. So this level of hyper personalized customer experience or experiences come here, which can make your product relevant to the individual user. Now, some people may be liking Spotify on a particular type of music. So next time onwards, even if there are Kishore Kumar, R.D. Varman, etc., but they will mostly coming up with all the ghazals if you are right in favor of ghazal. So they will try to understand what are your thing, and then they try to recommend something. But if you don't like it, they will come up with some other offerings as well. Same for Med Plus. You may be ordering a certain set of medicines. Next time onwards, right, they will come up with a similar kind of offering, or they can, right, check with you. And if they don't find the similar medicine, they will also offer the alternative recommendations. So what level of personalization they are trying to, right, come up with. Now, another thing is like called rapid experimentation. Now, AI can simulate outcomes of the product changes before the implementation, reducing risk. Now, I would like to again give a very real example. We all know about Chandrayaan 1, Chandrayaan 2, Chandrayaan 3. Now, Chandrayaan 2 was very close to the success, but because of not having a proper soft landing, the mission was not successful. So, which was rectified in the Chandrayaan 3, and then it was successful. So fortunately, in my organization, on that year, in our leadership conference, we got Kalpana Kalahasti, who is the deputy director of ISRO. She came and told us the insider story. So they said, this time our director told us about three factors. One, the speed with which the lander is coming down to the earth. Second, the inclination of the surface, which is unknown to us. And also the roughness of the surface, because we cannot exactly determine in which area it is going to land, even if we have got the best of the instrument. Now remember, ISRO is not a very cash-heavy organization. They had limited budget. So they cannot create the simulations like what NASA can do. But still they showed us with video, they created 500 plus simulation situation with lot of permutations of speed, inclination, and the roughness of the surface. But they did not want to disclose the actual number because that is confidential, but they have shown us some of the video that what all things they have done. So they had plan A, we talk about plan A, plan B, etc. They said we had almost plan ZZ, right? So to ensure that this time it is not going to fail. Another example I want to give, I don't know how many of you have seen the movie called Runaway 34. So it was an excellent movie that Ajay Devgan was a very competent, it is a real story, by the way. He was a very competent pilot, but the situation was that he's landing a plane in a very, very difficult airport with a very adverse situation. And there was almost no chance of error, because if he's missing it by a whisker, then at least hundreds of people life will be at stake. But he landed it absolutely perfectly. But still he was called for a kind of whatever they call their court martial to check that, okay, why did you take that chance? When even after telling you to return back to other airport, etc., when the fuel was reducing, right, when there were adverse condition on the weather, right, and it's a very, very bad runway, that why did you take that chance? He said, no, I was very confident. And after that, the medical investigation revealed that he was drunk. Someone actually mixed up some alcohol in his tea or something. But that's a different thing. But how he came out of the situation? So Amitabh Bachchan was a lawyer, and he created a simulation environment. Not he, a simulation environment created, and all those stress factor was infused in that simulation. Because no one can predict, how can we think that yes, Ajay Devgan was on top of, even if he was drunk, but he was on top of his confidence and still could land it properly. So we created that simulation, and then he was kind of considered as a yes. He was freed out of all the charges. So point here is, AI can help us, right, with a lot of such simulations, right, before we actually go for the implementations to reduce the risk. Another aspect I would like to say, I don't want to go into too much of detail, called whole product thinking. So I think in one of my earlier talk also, I was talking about 4 areas of product thinking: core product, expected product, augmented product, potential product. So whenever you are launching a new mobile, new smartphone, let's say in the 10,000 to 20,000 area, which is the most lucrative segment where majority of the buyers are there, why people will go ahead and buy your right smartphone? So they are like these core product. What are the core features? What are the expected feature? Expected feature is that all the mobile or all the smartphones in that range, whatever features they are providing, our new mobile can include all of them. Now, is it possible to do it manually? Of course not. So here AI can help. What could be the predictive right features which can ignite or influence the customer to go for these mobiles surpassing the already existing mobile? Again, AI can suggest. What could be those trigger factors, the trump cards, which can definitely convert the interest into the buying option or the buying thing? That can also be determined by AI. So AI has extreme power in terms of market segmentations and other things, a user segmentation. Now, coming back to the second part of the question, that is how AI can complicate the product thinking. Now, needless to mention that in the product thinking, right, bias, fairness, trust, these are very, very important, and where still AI has not been able to get to the core. Now, these are very common examples like recruitment platform, right? Having certain bias on certain colleges, certain university, certain area, right? Or demography of the people where people are considered to be very, very qualified. And they will only focus on those area going for the recruitment. But that's not the case always. With too much of biasness, you may be missing out on the other area where people are also the students are equally competent. In fact, can be much better. We all know about DigiYatra. Now, DigiYatra takes your photo of eye. If you are wearing a spectacle, it will tell you to take off your spectacle and then look into the camera. But we know that certain demographics of our country, especially northeast and other, so where the eyes are small. So they are sometimes like in the initial period of the DigiYatra, it was failing, and then they have rectified. So sometimes this bias and ethical dilemma can take us in a wrong product direction. Now, if you remember, like in our last meetup, that Somnath was telling a very important point, that if we are thinking that we are using the different apps to order of our own choice, that is completely wrong. They are forcing us to order. They're influencing us to order their product the way they think. So basically, they are controlling the customer choice based on the product offering and the recommendation. A health app suggests lifestyle changes based on the predictive analytics. Sometimes the customer may feel uneasy about the recommendation they did not request for because that's too personal. Now, we know that the Zomato influencing our food choice. You may not be able to order your choice, but whatever they are having or maybe unsold, they are offering those things as a recommendation. Amazon influence or Netflix Amazon influences our buying choice based on your historical pattern, or maybe who is verifying it, that whether it was really sold 5K time last month. But they will try to come up with some of the data points which might influence you to go for that particular one, saying that Amazon's choice last month, like so many people bought it, etc., etc. Netflix influences our genre choice. And sometimes the Make My Trip application influences our itinerary choice. So we are never in control of our options. Rather, we are influenced by the different app options, which is definitely in the back of that. AI is playing a big role. Sometimes over-reliance on the data can create a faulty product. The best example I can give you, Google Map. Of course, that is very useful. Without that, it's very difficult these days. But is it a foolproof choice? Google Map will always work on the short path. And sometimes you won't believe, it may take you to a road which is completely not navigable. Recently, we had a long drive in one of the remote part of West Bengal, and it took us to a position where after that there is only river. But it was still showing this is the way you should go, because there is a very narrow path in the river where no four-wheelers can go, but it was still showing that direction to us. Then what we had to do, we had to leave that Google map. I told, stop the Google map and let me ask people, local people, to tell me that, okay, how can I go back? How can I reach to this destination? Then it helped. Sometimes they will, in the interest of finding shortest route, they can give you a jungle road, a muddy road, or something like that, just to show that they are giving you the shortest route always. So summarizing, product management is definitely going to be influenced by AI in the coming days, but with a little bit of control is required. You cannot just blindly trust the recommendations. Those are coming from the research, from the analysis that AI is providing. But you should also use your human intelligence sometimes before we actually take it forward. So that concludes my answer. Hope it answers your question.
Yeah, definitely.
Now we are going to switch hat. Now, Shubhra will be the speaker and I'll be kind of acting as a moderator. Now, this time our topic would be continuous learning as a core agile ritual. We all know that in the AI area, half of the skills are shrinking dramatically and things are changing very, very fast. Now, teams can no longer rely on the annual training or static upskilling plan. Like, okay, I'm a Java resource. You never know whether the Java will be staying in the next few days or few years or not. So which has always emphasized adaptability. Now the demand is to have a continuous learning mindset, not just a continuous delivery. Now organizations are experimenting with AI-driven learning assistants, micro-learning, nudges, etc., etc. But the real challenge is the culture and the mindset. How can we convert our annual learning habit to more about a daily habit? How do you ensure the teams are not just consuming the AI output, but actually strengthening their own critical thinking? And how do the leaders create that psychological safety so that people feel encouraged to experiment, fail fast, and learn continuously without a fear of being judged, punished, or reprimanded? So with these small context, I would like to ask Shubhra the question, how can organizations embed continuous learning as a core agile practice in the AI era? Over to you.
Yeah. So to answer this, first, let me talk about why continuous learning matters in Agile. So Agile thrives on adaptability and improvement, right? Embedding continuous learning ensures teams evolve with changing technologies, because these days we have these ever-changing technologies, right? And we have to stay relevant. And even the customer needs. So the customer needs are also changing along with the market dynamics. So it is not just about training, it is about creating a learning culture where experimentation, feedback, and skill development are still part of our everyday work. It is not just a separate checklist to be done at the end of the year or maybe once in a year. So I can talk about some key strategies that can help embed continuous learning. The first one that I'm going to talk about being making learning as a part of our daily workflow. So if not daily, maybe we can include that as a part of our ceremonies that we do in Agile, maybe retrospective. Or if you are running safe, then you have that IP sprint, right? Where you can plan for upskilling, doing some learning. So whatever is needed to be relevant. So we need to make that an habit. So that is one key point. The second I would like to talk about is creating a continuous learning culture. So as I said multiple times in last couple of sessions as well, culture has to be top down. So the leaders need to encourage a mindset where failures are seen as learning opportunities, and they should model curiosity and openness. So, I mean, failure will always be there, but then if we think that as a failure and try to blame people, then it will not work. As I choose to give that example of learning to ride a bicycle. So if we would have been judged, oh, you fall down and everybody is laughing. So maybe one day we would have never learned how to ride a bicycle. So just like that. So some example maybe even if I consider the framework of SAFE, it emphasizes on continuous learning as a culture, as a core competency, right? Promoting relentless improvement and innovation across teams. Next, I would like to say is investing in formal learning and certification. I'm sure many organization does, but then it needs to be promoted as well. So as we have in Lexmark also offers different courses, certifications, and learning platforms. Yes, it will cost some amount of money for the organization, but then there are different sayings on this that I'm sure you all might have heard this already. That why am I going to spend so much on training a person who will ultimately, what will happen if that person gets all the training and then leaves the organization? But then the counter thought is, what will happen if you have a person who is not trained and staying back in your organization? It is also not right for your organization, right? So we need to invest in formal learning and certification. Next, I would like to say about community of practices. So we need to leverage community of practices. There should be different small COPs build up. So like in Lexmark, we have the COP for Scrum Masters and Agile coaches, a separate COP for architects, wherein different discussions happen. There are many examples across industries. There is example from Toyota who has built COP around continuous improvement. We all know about the Kaizen, right? To share best practices globally. We have this GitHub. They have formed engineering guilds for DevOps and security, hosting workshops and shared documentation. We have example from Capgemini, where they have created this agile coaching guild to standardize practices and improve team health. And similar stuff is what we do in our COP of coaches and Scrum Masters. So we basically discuss on what all practices we need to improve, what good practices are happening in some of the teams that can be imbibed into another team. So these type of COPs help. And lastly, I would like to talk about like allocating time for innovation. So we need to dedicatedly allocate time for learning during sprints. Maybe if you are running in SAFE, you have this IP sprint, but then if you're not running in SAFE also, you can anyways have a time reserved in your release time frame. Maybe one sprint you leave for this learning, certification, training, whatever you think is relevant for you. Because otherwise you will not have room for exploring new technologies and ideas. We'll go on working on the backlog. And there's a challenge here that we have also faced in our organization, that every time we have this some high priority stuff coming up from customer, and we give this excuse that we have to finish this, we have a deadline, but then deadlines will always be there. But if you don't find out some time out of it and try to learn something in that, you can never succeed. So deadlines will always be there, they will never go away. It's not that today I'm meeting one deadline, tomorrow another will not come. So it will always be there. But in that also, we need to allocate time for innovation. It is same like we keep on talking about giving some time on our fitness journey, right? We always say that, no, we don't have time in the morning. We have so many things to do. But then it is only us who need to find out some time for ourselves. So it is like that. So to sum up, some practical tips might be embedding learning objectives into OKRs and performance reviews. So in one sort of thing, it is like enforcing something from the top. Then using digital learning platforms or on-demand courses. I mean, I'm sure everybody, like every organization might be having some or the other digital learning platform. So like Skillsoft or Percipio. So those can be used. Then celebrating learning milestones, which is very important and very motivating also. If we start celebrating these small milestones like the certifications or the badges we earn while completing a training. So that can, motivate others. And lastly, encouraging cross-functional rotation, which is also very important because sometimes a person goes on working in a single team and doesn't have his knowledge is bound to that domain. So if we do cross-functional rotations, we are actually broadening the skills, right? So that also helps you stay relevant with the broader picture what your organization is doing. So these are some of the practical tips that I'd like to say, and that's what I'm going to end with. And over to you. Not over to you, rather, I will now switch again, switch the hat again. So, so now, since we have just explored the continuous learning, how it strengthens agile practices, to shift gear to something that's redefining how we measure success, because measuring success is also very important, right? The impact of AI on velocity and estimation models. Now, traditionally, metrics like velocity, cycle time, and throughput have helped team gauge capacity and predict delivery, right? But then, as AI begins automating repetitive tasks and augmenting creative ones, these metrics may no longer tell the full story. Velocity might spike simply because AI handles part of the work. As we all know, I mean, we are using AI for multiple things, but then without necessarily reflecting the real learning, innovation, or customer value. So, this raises an important question. Are our current estimation models or agile metrics still relevant in the AI driven world? So, with this context, Shubho, the question to you or the questions to you will be: will traditional estimation models like story points survive in AI disruption? The second one would be: which agile metrics will lose relevance in the AI era? And what new metrics should organizations adopt instead? Over to you.
Okay. Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. So to give a short answer to your question, yes, the estimation model, the story point will be there, but they have to be reframed. Now, there are three parts of your question. One, the estimation model. Second, which metrics will stay relevant? And what are the new metrics, or maybe some of the metrics may go away? And what are the new metric suggestions which are coming right in the AI area? So now, as you kind of said in your context, that whenever now we are going to do the work or the team members are going to do the work, they are not going to do the work all alone. That means it's not always human driven work. There will be a certain portion of the work which will where we are going to take the help of the AI, which typically we call it as AI effort multiplier. So like when we come up with any estimation model, we try to infuse right lot of factors. Moving forward, the story points will not only be relying on the complexity, scope, volume, and risk, but also how much effort AI is giving. That should also be considered, and then we can come up with a new way of right estimation model. Now, over in the there had been a lot of research going on, and still there is no right definitive answer to the metrics or the estimation model yet, because many organizations are trying in their own way, but there are certain right situations as we see that 50% of completion time improvement are seen whenever the team members are using the AI pair programming. But there is a negative or opposite thought around that as well, which I'll take up right when I talk about the pragmatic approach. Now, another thing is that some independent studies say that 30 to 45% time saving on the repetitive coding, testing, and documentations, which I kind of agree. That whenever there is a repetition of the repetitive nature of work, right, or a bad job writing, or a script writing, or a test case execution, etc., AI can do wonder, no doubt about it. Up to 50% of the documentation, right, up to 50% of the time saving, again, whenever we are doing the documentation work or automation kind of work, then again, Agile becomes a great result. Now, the McKinsey's lab experiments found the coding task completion with 50% of improvement, confirming that estimation needs to account the AI contribution. So you are just creating your estimation with say 100 hours of effort based on our traditional model, and after that you are seeing that the work is actually getting completed in half the time, that is 50 hours. That is because of the AI contribution which we have ignored. Now, let me take maybe 1 minute of time to talk about a little bit of pragmatic data. So in any organization, if they are using GitHub Copilot, I was speaking to some of my architects, and they are telling me, Shubhoda, there is a little bit of eyewash and the checkpoint, leadership checkpoint they are trying to achieve at this point. No concrete evidence of showcasing real improvement is yet to be seen or not seen yet. Now, first thing is, let's say they have procured 500 GitHub Copilot licenses, so they have to make sure that these are properly distributed to the team. Second, how many people are actively using it and how many of them are not using it? So their next target is how can we ensure that everyone is using it, and then showcase some improvement. Question is, whenever you are telling that you are using the right GitHub Copilot license and showcasing that 40% improvement, then you should be able to complete more work, right, than what was your capacity defining, but that is not seen. So there is a little bit of disconnect between whatever they are claiming and what the output or the outcome is actually demonstrating. So here, so what are the kind of changes that we are expecting in the coming days in terms of estimation? That we may need to come up with some AI-powered estimation tool, some models, some ML models, where we should incorporate the AI augmentation factors called AAF. Sometimes people need to take care of the hybrid approach, that some part of the human estimation, some part of the AI estimation. Some people are thinking about even creating some 0-point studies for the automation task, because where there is no human intervention is required. And last but not the least, whenever we are creating our work breakdown structure, you should be creating some AI tasks as well, which you are not going to do, AI will be doing, and you can mark them as 0 or maybe give a small number out there to get that parity. Now coming to the some of the metrics that we like to talk about. Some of the metrics which are going to lose relevance. Velocity. What is velocity? It's basically a throughput or number of story points or stories which are getting completed and accepted by the product owner at the end of the sprint. But the question here is, we are talking about human, right? But whenever AI is accelerating or auto-completing the task, human only throughput is no longer the bottleneck. So that may die down or maybe reframed or redefined. Some of the developer productivity metrics. How are we defining how many number of lines of codes are written, how many code commits are made, etc., etc. But remember one thing: when AI writing or rewriting code, sometimes inflating signals. Study shows that more code does not mean a great quality code. Sometimes you may be infusing some of the logical mistake, etc. So we need to be careful about it. Defect leakage rate. Whenever we are completely relying on AI for the test execution, etc., and just bypassing the human intervention, studies say that there is more defect leakage rate, because sometimes the human can use their own intelligence and try to find out some non-happy or unhappy path testing and trying to find out some of the error which we can prevent from occurring in the UAT phase. So what is going to be, cycle time throughput? Again, AI can improve the cycle time, but the question is, are we really generating the output or outcome? You can complete with the AI, we can generate more work, but whether it is going to give them, the customer, the value, that is something what we are trying to think about, the value. So outcome over the output, prioritize the validated learning and the customer impact over activity volume. Now, I would like to give a very small example to end with. That in our project recently, like I was handling one project, and there is a misalignment between the business analyst, the solution architect, and the UI designer. Now, UI designer is, and we have a set of requirement, and the UI designer is creating some UI screen to showcase that, okay, how much work he is doing. But later we understood from the technical product owner, those are not at all required. If we go by Moscow rule, must have, should have, could have, won't have, they are falling into that could have or won't have category. So the point here is, again, generating maximum output is not going to help. You have to really generate the maximum value. Some of the value-centric metrics that AI is recommending, called customer adaptation and the satisfaction, sometimes the model accuracy and the bias reduction, and sometimes, right, AI-specific health and responsibility, like how can we reduce the bias, how can we reduce the how can we incorporate the trust, etc. It's ethical consideration into consideration. And finally, as Shubhra rightly said, that is something, a new thing introduced called learning velocity, that how fast team is learning and adopting and not just delivering the output, not outcome. So with this, I would like to move to another very relatable question, which I would request Shubhra to address. If you are not changing our mindset sometimes, or over relying on the AI-based metrics, that can create some inflation. So as AI becomes tightly integrated into the agile delivery, forecasting velocity, predictive delays, or even generating the performance insight, we are entering into a space where metrics are no longer just measured by human, but interpreted and influenced by the machine. And that may create some new risk. AI may over-optimize the wrong signal. Sometimes team might be feeling pressure to perform the metric, not for the value, because they are just chasing the number but not the value. That is becoming another point. Too much data orientation. Automated dashboard can amplify the bias or misinterpret normal variability as underperformance. See, some people consider spillover, but spillovers are the natural course of execution. Spillover does not always mean intentional underperformance. There are a lot of reasons behind it, and AI may not be able to predict those things. And finally, how can we prevent AI from distorting reality and pushing team towards unhealthy behavior? So summarizing the context, my question to Shubhra would be, how do we ensure that AI does not distort team metrics or encourage gaming the numbers?
Yeah. So as you rightly said, that AI with its, increasing productivity by automating repetitive tasks, like say documentation, or maybe test case generation, defect detection, and even in testing. So this does create a risk of metric inflation, where output numbers rise, but then without actual increase of the corresponding value. Right. So as you said, we need to shift from tracking velocity to value. So that is a shift. So to prevent this inflation, organizations need to add some guardrails and smarter measurement practices, I would say. First thing that I would again repeat what you already said, that redefining metrics around outcomes, not outputs. So traditional metrics like velocity or story points can be misleading, because when I'm putting that, I'm thinking about the total effort it will take, and that includes the part that AI is going to write it for me. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So maybe we need to shift focus to business outcomes or customer value. So, I mean, right now what we are doing, as I said, we run in SAFe. So in SAFe, instead of measuring how many features a team is delivering in a PI, we actually tend to measure the business value that the features are going to give you. So when a feature is completed, how much business value that feature is giving you, that is what we are going to measure. So that shifts your focus from the real numbers to the real value. So that is what we need. Even as you said rightly, that some examples can be measuring customer satisfaction scores, or time to feedback, then defect escape rates, which is a very good thing. And so all in all, it is like the value delivered during a sprint. This is what we should be. Why? Because these indicators, they are actually measuring the impact, not just the activity that is being done. And AI-driven dashboards should highlight meaningful progress, not these vanity metrics. The second thing I would like to say is I don't know how much that can be implemented, but maybe if we can demarcate the human generated code or AI generated code, that measurement can be a useful thing for us to track metrics.
Correct.
Next one would be using leading indicators like behavioral metrics. So pairing traditional metrics with leading indicators, time to learning, innovation rate, and backlog health. So as you said, I mean, the actual learning should be a part of the metrics
Exactly.
instead of what we are doing, right? Another point would be embedding governance and ethical oversight. So maybe we have some AI usage policy and reviews happening in our organization. So that can act as a governance for what you are actually doing. So ensure AI is augmentation tool and not shortcut for gaming metrics. So because of to ensure this, actually this governance and ethical oversight is needed. A review is needed. Example can be IBM. So IBM actually they advocate governance frameworks to prevent irresponsible AI use and bias in decision making. So this is something that has to be there. But then when you are starting or when you are in the initial phase of embedding AI, things will be challenging and difficult to measure. That's what I have learned from the experience in my organization. The last thing I would say is encouraging transparency and team ownership. Because making the interpretation a team conversation is much more truthful than making it a management mandate. If it becomes a management mandate, to meet that mandate, people might try to manipulate the metrics, or
Right.
there would be more chances to inflate the metrics. But then if the ownership is with the team and the team is aware of what they're trying to project, or maybe in the retrospectives we are trying to discuss about that. So this is the metrics, this is the improvement we have made. Is it a real improvement you're seeing, or what is the story behind that? So if the ownership is with the team, then I think we will see more actual or more real numbers in the metrics. In our organization, we use a framework called SPACE. I don't know if you are knowing. It is a acronym for 5 different areas like satisfaction, performance, activity, communication, and efficiency. The SPACE matrix is used to balance quantitative and qualitative insights. So when we started using AI, so when GitHub Copilot licenses were acquired, at one point of time, your leadership needs to know that how much efficient it is. I mean, whatever cost they have spent on buying those licenses, how much value it is giving to you. But again, there's a disclaimer right there that when you are just starting to embed AI, at that point of time, whatever smarter way you try to measure, we will not get the proper data. So it takes some time to stabilize, and maybe say after 1 or 2 years, maybe if we try to measure it, we will get a good data. But then we have to start the step of measuring from 6 months down the line. Until unless we start, the moment we start, then also we'll get a faulty data. So starting to measure success of AI is also important.
Right.
So
I think in the interest of time, Shubhra, right, like we can probably stop here. Let's park that Scrum Master Agile Coach discussion, right, for the new year, because that is very close to our heart, right?
Yes.
And we should not compromise on the quality of the discussion, right, just by squeezing a lot of things into just 5 or 10 minutes. So welcome everyone for asking questions. So if we can take some questions from the audience.
Any questions, anybody? I don't see any questions.
In the chat also, there is no question.
Chat also there's no question.
Okay. So in that case, maybe
I think we can Yeah, we can move to the next one,
Okay.
which is a very debatable topic again, I'd say. And we had a lot of questions earlier as well. So we have talked about metrics and governance in the AI era. Now let's turn to the people side of Agile, specifically the evolving role of Scrum Masters and Agile coaches. So traditionally, Scrum Masters and coaches have been the guardians of the process, facilitators of collaboration and champions of the team health. But then with AI tools increasingly handling workflow monitoring, dependency mapping, and even team sentiment analysis, their role is bound to change. The question is, will AI make this role less relevant, or will it free them to discuss on higher value work like coaching, leadership, and organizational agility? Shubho, how will AI, or rather, how you foresee AI changing the role and relevance of Scrum Masters and Agile coaches?
Okay. First of all, there is a perception in the leadership mind that AI is going to take off all these roles. So we may not be needing any coach, we may not be needing any Scrum Master, right? A project manager can drive the Scrum Master role. If there is any education required, we can send them for a certification, etc., etc. But that's completely wrong perception. Now let me come back to your question that who is a coach? The coach is not going to provide the solution. The role of a coach is to enable people to find out solution, and for which the coach can listen to the problem, ask powerful questions, and guide the team in some structured manner there so that they can find out their own solution. Now, there are different way you can do the coaching, right? You can do one-to-one coaching, right? You can do, right? Sometimes we do some data analysis. Now, if I go by the Lisa Atkins agile coaching trend, etc., etc. Now, there are different ways of the coach can play different hats. Sometimes they can become trainer, mentor, right, etc. So I don't want to get into too much of thing. Now, when it comes to the Scrum Masters are also perceived as a team coach, right? So they do have that coaching ability, and also they are having some transactional part like facilitating ceremonies, events, analysis of the sprint data so that they can have a meaningful conversation. They can do a lot of trend analysis and trying to predict the how things are going to happen in the current sprint or maybe in the upcoming sprint. Sometimes they are responsible for metrics, dashboard reporting, and finally the predictability. Now, how are these things changing? Now, needless to mention, there are certain things which Scrum Master do typically; those can be automated, right? And some of the ceremonies that he or she is conducting can be more optimized in terms of time, in terms of the preparation, etc. Now, a daily stand-up call can be finished in just 5 minutes because there are a lot of things are already taken from the Jira and properly analyzed, and we can only focus on some of the key blockers, some key clarification, etc., etc. Now, tracking velocity, generating burn down, sending reminders, doing a predictive analysis, all these things again can be done by AI. But the point is, will the data always show the insider story? Of course not, where the Scrum Master or the coach's role will still become very, very relevant. Because the data may show that there is a little bit of underperformance or maybe the spillover, but actually what is happening behind the scene, that AI will not be able to judge. So which a Scrum Master can understand only by having that one-to-one conversation with the team member. So in the new time, the Scrum Master will become more strategic than just running the meeting now. Now, what all things AI can give? AI can help us with coming up with a prediction model. If we can fit in with now, I can just give one of quick example. Prompt engineering is becoming a very key feature here. Now, in my organizations, I created some prompt definition based on the historical data of the previous sprint on what is the capacity, how many stories the team committed, how many are introduced, what is the reserve capacity, what was the stories, number of stories removed, and then spillover, etc., etc. And based on that, what was the result of the story? So I have given that kind of grammar, or you can say reference data to the AI, and after that I'm giving the real time or sprint data. And based on that, the AI can learn from the previous model, and then they can predict it. And I've seen that there is almost 90 to 100% of the success rate in terms of that prediction model. So prompt engineering is a key skill for a Scrum Master and Agile coaches to adopt to come up with different type of models. Now, sometimes what to do with the spillover. Now, this can be extended for what to do with the spillover items, whether they can be pushed to the next sprint or can be considered for the as a backlog items, etc. That also can be predicted depending on the previous spillover action items, what product owner might have taken. So this can again help you to predict in a much better way. Now, a few minutes back, Shubhra told a very important part that is called behavioral pattern. Now, when we started our coaching, that time we used to call it as a mood marble to understand the team's behavior, team's mood, right? And these can be helpful sometimes, right, with some team sentiment analysis or a maturity assessment where AI can definitely reduce a lot of your manual task. But once the result is published, when we are thinking about the action item or the prioritization, then the coaching stance may come into picture, which AI cannot predict. Now, what are the area will still stay relevant? That is unlocking leadership alignment. Because if we just give these data to the leaders will not be able to understand the meaning of it. Now, yesterday, right, I was having a conversation with my leadership. We have a client visit coming up. So I was giving that maturity assessment, and immediately my client told, why don't you give us some of your recommendation, or how should we interpret these data? Because just by giving the data is not going to help them. You need to, and where that insider story, while giving the insider story, your ability as a coach or as a Scrum Master, because you are close to the practice, right, will come and come up. Now, shaping team habit. So there are, right, certain team members who are product proactive. However, there are certain team members like who are a little bit laggard. So those things, right, AI may not be able to interpret. So how can we ensure, like as Shubhra rightly said, that agile coaches or Scrum Master are the agile guardian, servant leader, right? So we can still serve or continue to serve as a servant leader. That is not going to be taken away from anyone. Whenever there is a qualitative stuff, let's say conflict resolution, behavioral stuff coming up, AI cannot replace the human being, right? The coaches and the Scrum Masters, who are still there. Now, the next point is coaching side, like how AI can make the coaching side of the role far more critical. Now, AI can give you a lot of recommendation, AI can give you a lot of data, but the psychological safety, right, is not going to be provided by the AI, which only a coach or a servant leader can give. Because typically, to adopt AI, the team member has a ongoing resistance, because they are thinking it will make their life more transparent, it will put them under tremendous pressure, everything is kind of judged, because they cannot, because things are automated, there is no chance of overlooking the mistakes, etc., etc. Sometimes the leader can misinterpret the data, sometimes the team falling into the comfort zone. So where again the coach can come here and play a very important role. Now, let's say there is a team member who had been a very good performer throughout the year, but for the last 3 or 4 sprint, as far as the data is concerned, that person is considered to be an underperformer. So AI can easily tag that person as an underperformer and can get into the scanner of the leadership. But where agile coach can help, they can have a one-on-one coaching conversation, create that psychological safety so that the members can open up by answering those powerful questions, because they know that I'm not going to be judged, things will be kept confidential, the trust and respect will be there, which AI cannot provide. So organization can adopt the tools, but not the behavior. So how agile coaches become one who can help human? By adopting AI without fear. Now, again, taking a quick example, last year, 2024, around October, there was a leadership visit, and then our leadership was telling the agile coaches, now you need to become an AI promoter. You need to tell the team, you need to coach the team not on the agile practices, but also to tell that how right they can go ahead and embrace AI without a fear or without being judged. Our job will stay relevant to interpret the AI outputs responsibly. We are not going to over rely on the automation or the data, the dashboard, which is coming up. I can give you a very small example to end up because we have got a lot of things to say, but in the interest of time, let me give one very simple example. Let's say capacity calculation. So in the current team, there may be 4 type of team members. One, those who are already existing in the team and the project for longer period of time, they have got absolutely good knowledge. There is a churning. We have got some new 2 fresher who do not have any knowledge about the application or the project. There are a few people came from outside, senior, or maybe from outside project. Again, they don't have any idea about the project or the application. There may be certain people who are coming from the other part of the project, same project, but they are doing maintenance work. Now they are going to do the development work. Now AI will consider their percentage allocation, available hour, vacation plan, and based on the capacity model, they are going to come up with the capacity. But will that be a right calculation? Can I really compare a fresher with the person coming from outside with so many experience, coming from the same project maintenance side and coming to the project, or the person who is staying there in the project, current project with great knowledge of the application? Can we really compare? So here comes an agile coach or a Scrum Master's responsibility. So we can take the recommendation from the AI, but again, on top of it, we should mix up, right, our own judgment to make it more relevant. And last but not the least, agile coaches should encourage the critical thinking. Don't take the data which is coming just blindly. AI can easily generate a lot of dashboard in a real quick time. AI can generate a lot of prediction in real quick time. AI can generate a lot of recommendation in real quick time. But the question is, are we challenging that data? Are we challenging that recommendation? And then only we can see the success. And to summarize, the AI, even in the AI era, agile coaches' role are going to stay relevant, even with more responsibility and accountability. These are not going to fade away. Over to you, Shubhra.
Yeah, great point. So I would like to add 2 more lines to that.
Please.
The most important things or the roles that a coach or a Scrum Master plays, retrospectives being a part of that, facilitating that. I don't think AI is ever going to take over that job because that will never happen. Because it needs a human intervention to create that psychologically safe space for people to talk, teams to talk and discuss. And until and unless the discussion happens, there will not be any improvement in it. So retrospective is such an important part. And for that, agile coaches and scrum masters are always required and will always be required. And again, you cannot compare one team to another team.
Absolutely.
So I am playing a scrum master role for 2 teams, and my 2 teams are different.
Correct.
Even in capacity planning also, like if one team is based on the historical data, one team can deliver fast, one team can deliver a little bit in a slower pace. So that doesn't make any team less efficient than the other team. So it depends on person to person, right? So the team dynamics, and so those judgment can only be present in a human mind. It can never be plugged into any AI tool. So yes, AI tool is important, but then human judgment is above that. So to end with, as we conclude, one thing stands out. Agility and AI are not opposing forces. They are powerful patterns in shaping future-ready organizations. Now, while tactical elements of Agile will evolve, its core principles like adaptability, continuous learning, and customer centricity become even more vital in the AI-driven world. So our challenge and opportunity lie in harnessing AI to scale and accelerate while ensuring Agility amplifies human creativity and judgment. So let's move forward with curiosity, responsibility, and courage, embracing the intersection of agility and AI as the next frontier of competitive advantage, not as a threat, but as a catalyst for innovation and growth. So, with that note, I'd like to end today's discussion. And since we didn't have any questions today, everybody feel free to reach out to us. If you have any questions, even in LinkedIn, you can also reach out to us. Thank you, everybody, for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was really, a lot of insights. Thank you again.
Thank you, Moinak.